Hey, all happy campers and passengers flying Freedom Flight GLL117. This is Ginger, your captain speaking, seated next to your chief pilot, Captain Jesus. It is May 12th, 2025, coming back around for another quick announcement. So, um, yeah, I've been getting messages, people asking questions about a certain topic out of concern and alarm. We want to lovingly squash some fake news. And number two, I also got message people were saying, "Oh, Mark Z said the Bolivar is in the first basket." Well, friends, uh, goodness gracious, if you are being a good listener and you are tuning into your Gentel and your GLL Flight 117, all your news, you'll remember that more than a month ago, we told you that Bolivar was going to be in the basket. And we might use some funny voices and tell some funny stories, but the truth and the good solid intel is always mixed in. And that was the Gentel report where you got to hear from Maxine in Texas, and Soldado had just gotten liquid funds and went down there to pop the question in Texas. We had these tier three GLL members in full liquidity, and you'll remember Maxine's brother, Max, who was a bank manager at a qualifying redemption center, and he spilled the beans and explained that Bolivar, he was definitely seeing that showing up. And we're getting this from our special friends, our special military contacts, and weaving it into these creative stories. So those who paid attention were able to have that rest assured and that knowledge, all these weeks that, yeah, Bolivar is absolutely going to be in the mix. I have every expectation. So just want to encourage you with that. And friends, I'm really concerned about some of the publications going around in the truther community. Very alarming things such as the written reports, and they're being parroted by leaders who have channels on Telegram and podcasts claiming that if someone is not um, vibrating at 5D, fifth dimension, that med beds will not work on that person. Literally giving the idea that the machine, the technology will just shut off if the person is not 5D and it will not work. That is absolutely false. False. You've got to consider the children who have been rescued from the dumps and the tunnels. I know of a warrior who has been working in child rescue operations for 20 years. He's seen some things. You've got to realize these children lived through pure hell and survived, and they were given help and access to this technology. So, are these asshats out there going to claim, well, the med beds didn't work for this 8-year-old girl that went through trauma? It just won't work. She wasn't vibrating at 5D, so yeah, it wouldn't work for her. Sorry, no luck for you. That is absolutely ridiculous. It is false. Now, friends, I have taught on this subject a lot. I am ambassador with the Celestial Alliance, with God's Daughter of Jubilee. I have had higher dimensional meetings, of course, with Celestial Alliance, but I also had a meeting knowing that I had concerns and cautionary tales to bring forward to get the celestial alliances clear and concise answers to. And because of that, they brought to me in a higher dimensional meeting 3 members of Ashtar Command and 3 members of the Galactic Federation. And these 6 parties were the actual developers of the most modern and up to date modern medbed technology that we have access to. I'm telling you, the developers. And I was able to present my questions directly to those that make it. This experience is elaborated on in Chronicles of an Ambassador Part 4. And the time frame of that delivery was a year ago in May 20, no, I beg your pardon. I humbly beg your pardon. 2 years ago, May 2023. Also, I highly encourage you to listen to Chronicles of an Ambassador Part 5 and 6. These were all in the April and May timeframe of 2023. And they're elaborative, they're concise, they're extremely well detailed if you're wanting to learn facts about the medbed and the Ashtar Command and the Galactic Federation parties that consulted with me and another ambassador said pointedly, why would we create healing technology that the vast majority of the earth could not use and could not benefit? Why would we even do that? They, of course, hearing these stupid rumors that go around social media and are repeated and parroted, um, it was extremely frustrating for them. Why would we make technology that the vast majority of Earth humans could not use? Why would we do that? Now, we go into great detail in the Chronicles that using the medbed technology can help elevate your vibration, but I also explain to you ad nauseum that it is up to you to maintain it, right? You're responsible for that light that you hold and to behave in such a way and work in such a way spiritually with your own energy and really connecting in with Papa God so that you can expand your vibration and be all that you are meant to be. So using the med bed can elevate and help your vibration, right? But that light that you hold, you'll have to cultivate that as well. You see what I'm saying? But to think that you cannot be healed because you're not, presently vibing at 5D is false. It's completely ridiculous. Okay? Um you really should tune in to those previous Chronicles 4, 5, and 6, folks. And I'm just going to say this. Um, so in 5, I want you to know that there is a medbed personality. Out of respect for this person, I'm not going to say their name, but they disagreed with my takeaways, and not just myself, but all the ambassadors and the helpers at that time in meetings. We respectfully handled the whole medbed narrative, the whole medbed conversation. It was completely respectful, totally diplomatic, just honest, and I could not have been more humble and loving and compassionate in the delivery of Chronicles Part 5. But this person bucked and they rebelled against the news that we were given, feeling that because it contradicted what they had said, that they just went into a whole bunch of vitriol and anger and attack mode, full on attack mode. Although I could not have been more diplomatic and respectful in what I shared. This idea where if you don't, if that you have to abandon your worship of God and you have to abandon worship of Jesus if you ever think you're going to fund a medbed facility, or if you ever think you're going to run a medbed facility. This is literally what they said, that you cannot be responsible to either fund a healing center, nor will you be able to work with the higher dimensional technology if you worship God and if you worship Jesus. So if you're one of those, you know, Bible thumpers, or you pray and you worship God and Jesus, well, you're just not going to be qualified. Sorry, you can't even fund a medbed center. I need you to know that is absolutely incorrect. And I was told this by Celestial Alliance. Of course, Yeshua, Commander in Chief Jesus, was in attendance. We also had Mr. G, who is over all of the military alliance. We had President Trump in that higher dimensional meeting. All of this is unpacked and elaborated on in Chronicles Part 5. And they were extremely loving and respectful to this other person who has a different opinion and different point of view. Never said anything disparaging about that person, but just basically, it's misguided. You are not going to be treated as a second class citizen if you have faith in God. Now, at the same time, you have to have, higher consciousness where you have to, accept the reality that these higher technologies, are created right by galactics, and it's possible you would even be interfacing with maybe a being or Palladian or something like that that maybe looks human. Um, you just have to be able to acknowledge that that is a potential possibility, and not, be one of those people who just is going to curse everything because you say, "Oh, it's alien and it's going to be demonic." Obviously, that's not the right attitude uh, at all. If you are, taking advantage of this um, higher vibrational technology, you've got to realize there's more to it than that. So you can't be narrow-minded either, is what I'm trying to say. There's this happy medium and a happy balance. And I'm very, very alarmed at the garbage that is being promoted on these channels. And it's fear porn. I don't even like that word. It's just driving fear. And I'm literally having folks come to the channel wanting to pull out their hair and, crying because they feel there's no hope for them. They're like, "I admit I don't feel like I'm 5D," she says. "And what am I going to do? Does this mean I don't get healing now?" It's a horrible thing to do to people. And it's a lie. You don't have to worry about that, okay? And I literally 2 years ago, literally had people in my PM just ready to sell all of their bonds and currencies because their compassionate heart center dream was to create a healing center. And they loved the idea of the medbed facilities and healing. And when they were told, "Well, you go to church and you pray and you worship God, so hey, you're not even qualified. Forget it, man. You've got to forsake worshiping God. Um, worship yourself, and that's all you need. Uh, and until you get to that place, you're not going to be eligible." They were told. They were devastated. They were literally ready to abandon their dream and give it up. And this is the reason, that's the motivation why I went to Celestial Alliance and along with other ambassadors. And it was a testimony heard in, in mouths, by mouths of witnesses and heard. So it wasn't just me hearing it. And we detailed it in the chronicles, word for word, what was asked and what was said, what was relayed. And they were just very disappointed with this fear that's being pushed. It's not of God. It really isn't. And just be really careful. And there's also this fear being pushed on patriots, like, if they're making people feel like if you question what I tell you, you're eliminated. If you question what I say to you, you'll be taken off the so-called list. So here they're telling people to be 5D, right? But they're blaming, they're almost judging, they're shaming, and they're placing this pressure of fear. If you don't believe what I say, then you'll be eliminated. You won't even get your blessing. They'll say that. I mean, it's ridiculous. And if you disagree, and even though I was polite and I was so courteous and diplomatic in the way I relayed the information in Chronicles 5, um, it was met with vitriol and a 9-minute 36-second PM to me, completely cussing me a blue streak, calling me the most wicked, horrible, vile names in the book because I disagreed. Oh, and that's 5D behavior, is it? And how did I respond? I just didn't. I just said publicly, I forgive this person and I hope whatever is troubling them that they can heal from. That's all I ever said. I never drew attention to it on my channel ever. Never mentioned the person's name even, as far as on my channel. Um, just let it go. But then that person turns around and calls me a bully. Are you serious? I've never, um, no, I've never done that. I've been on the receiving end of some crap on Telegram, but I've never been an instigator. But yeah, you know, if you make up crap about me, yeah, you can count on me grabbing my flip flop and whopping your butt. If you're going to be a heifer, I'm going to set the boundaries. You know what I'm saying? I will set the boundaries and I will set the record straight. But no, I've never bullied anybody. um, I've never been an instigator. You will not see one example where I've ever instigated or started something. So I'm just very, very concerned about these people putting these warnings out and pushing 5D, 5D, this almost threat, this fear. If you're not there, if you don't qualify, if you don't measure up, you don't get this, you don't get that, you don't get your blessing. Um, there's nothing 5D about that, friends. And I know you can sense the authenticity and the truth in my voice, right? This is about love and having a space of grace to grow into Papa God, grow into your relationship with God. You know, in our channel, we talk a lot about, growing in that spiritual, energetic vibrancy and being able to, see beyond the veil and be able to walk yoked to God and your life is transformed. And I have a special friend who I touch base with on a weekly basis. And, I just strive to, be spiritually clean and, in my spirit, my energy, and to grow and be all that I can be. And one amazing factor is, I'm vibrating on a spiritual sense like there's four parts of you. There's your spiritual body, your emotional body, your mental body, and your physical body. My spiritual body is vibing at 99%. Now, I'd like to be at 100. I'm not quite there yet, but daggum at 99%. So don't you tell me that I'm not going to qualify to do this and that because I don't believe the same way that you do. That's not right. If they've been able to measure the expansion of my spiritual energy. So if you picture your physical body as the center, the apex, the center part, your spiritual energy goes out from you in layers, beautiful layers. If you can even imagine ripples on the water, if a pebble is thrown in the water and you see those ripples go out, your energy, your spiritual energy is like that. It moves out from your body. Well, at a kind of hard time in my life, my spiritual energy was leaving my body out at a half a mile, which isn't bad. It's not bad. But as I grew and we got through some trapped emotions and other things that were sort of, you know, how do you say, things that boggled me down or things that sort of like shackled my spirit, just kept it confined, where my spirit person, my soul person couldn't grow and expand and be all that God wants for me. When I worked through some of that PTSD and that trauma from some challenging times, when those obstacles fell off of my spirit man, my spirit person, my spirit just whoosh, grew. So that little, half a mile expansion of spiritual energy, it's not bad. That's pretty solid. Well, as of today, it's beyond me at 7.25 miles, just away from my body. My spiritual energy is felt as far away from me over 7 miles today. And that's even, not really where I want to be. I'd like to be farther, and I'm on my way to that. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just saying these people who are making these harsh claims and telling you to do this and be this, and if you're not doing it just like I say, then you won't qualify and you won't measure up. Well, I don't believe that. I'm not speaking ill of them, but I don't believe that, and I'm proof of it. I've got a really great relationship with Papa God, really great relationship with Jesus. So I'm just concerned with this harsh judgment by these people out in our world that really are commanding you to be 5D. And while they're commanding it and bossing it and driving it down people's throat here in the lounge in GLL, we're living it. Our family, we're doing it without barking the orders, without casting judgment on people. We're just doing it. And the Celestial Alliance leans into this channel like you would not believe. They are blessing our people. We're having, these angelic hosts that I will dispatch. We are literally, people are seeing them in or around their homes, these beautiful angelic warriors. They're seeing God showing them signs, what we like to call God winks, and even wonders. Even the reputation of this channel, people said, hey, I've heard about GLL, and I've heard this is a place where prayers get answered. I have a real significant need. Can somebody pray for me? This family is living it. You are living heaven on earth. You are the embodiment of grace and love and compassion and authenticity. And I need to say that about this whole 5D conversation. Did you know one of the most 5D uh, constructs is authenticity? Did you know that? So that also means it's okay to say, hmm, that's an interesting perspective. Thank you for sharing, but I disagree. I respectfully disagree. You're allowed to say that. Thank you for sharing your opinion. I appreciate what insights you can bring to the table, but I respectfully disagree. That doesn't resonate for me. And you can still be okay. But these people are literally saying, if you don't believe what I say, if you don't agree with what I say, well, you're just not going to measure up and you'll never be 5D. That's what they say. That's the behavior that they portray. There's nothing 5D about it. I would rather, like we do in GLL, have an open conversation, a place where a difference of opinion can be shared diplomatically and respectfully and kindly. But we don't have a place here in GLL where it's a brainwashing echo chamber where only one view is shared. I've told our channel at least 100 times, shoot, I don't care if you disagree with me. I don't mind one bit. You can disagree with me all you want. The only thing I ask is please be respectful. I deserve it. And I likewise am respectful to you. And we can have an amicable conversation. We can be completely um, disagreeing, but we don't have to be disagreeable. You see what I'm saying? We have open conversation here, freedom of thought, freedom of speech. Even though other people have blocked GLL content completely, saying, well, we're going to delete if you post anything, and if you keep sharing GLL content, we're going to block you. Where's the 5D in that, folks? Even though they've treated me horribly, I've never once blocked their content from my channel. Not once. My channel members are free to share anything and anyone they deem is fitting and appropriate. And if somebody disagrees with what such and such truth or said, well, we allow an amicable conversation on that too. It's okay. We're not going to censor people and treat you like fourth graders. Okay, we'll let you um, be an adult and have the common sense, use your discernment and the brain that God gave you. And these are all opportunities for extraordinary improvement in your God given intuition and your discernment. This whole blocking this person, blocking that, there's nothing truthful about that. That's the opposite of truthfulness. That's brainwashville, which we in the lounge, we don't resonate with. So I hope this is giving you food for thought. Um, that's why I always go back to that scripture, that don't be a double-minded man that is unstable in all his ways. Don't be double-minded. You've got to know what you believe, know why you believe it, think through things so that when somebody's wheelbarrow bucks yours, that your whole wheelbarrow doesn't topple over and you lose it all. And that's what's happening because these fear mongers are driving this narrative, and don't you question me and don't you disagree with me. And if you don't believe this, then, you know, you're just you're just way off and you won't qualify. And then people say, well, I don't want to say anything because, I don't want to, I want to stay 5D. That's what they say. Oh yeah, such and such person said, a massive amount of fake news in that video that just got forward. But yeah, I don't want to say anything because that's not 5D. Well, speaking the truth is very much 5D. Being authentic is extremely 5D. Just don't be an ass about it. Don't be a jerk. I'm just seeing some stuff coming down the pike that oh yeah, I heard this one that somebody said recently that if you don't have a certain number of Bolivar in your hand at the redemption center, that they won't be redeemed. I don't know if it was 100. I want to acknowledge that I don't have my notes in front of me, so I apologize ahead of time if they said it was you had to have at least 100 Bolivar or you wouldn't get to have them exchanged. I don't know if they said 100 or 20, so I'm admitting to you it's one of those numbers. And I saw this 2 weeks ago and I was like, what the hello jello are they talking about? That's a bunch of bull crap. Think, people. Think, use the brain God gave you. Think, does that even make sense? Where's the sovereignty in that? Right? Where's the freedom in that? Again, making up rules as they go. They're coming across as the authority, literally. They say this person says that kind of thing that, you have to believe me because this is what God told me. But it's a lie. Nobody is going to force anybody to own or possess or to buy a certain number of pretty papers in order to get that kind of pretty paper denomination or whatever exchange. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely stupid. So I brought, something up in a PM and like, oh gosh, I'm really alarmed that this person is saying that. And I'm concerned why, this isn't being called into question. And that whole, well, I'm just accepting it because I want to be 5D. So I need to speak to that. Being 5D doesn't mean that you're so open minded that your brain falls out. Use your brain, use your God given intuition and your discernment, please. I do want to say all of this in love. I just needed to iron out some of these wrinkles in people's thinking because I'm concerned of where that fear, that drive is going to take people in a dark place. This is one of the reasons why GLL does not ride the roller coaster. The vast majority of our members are completely cool as a cucumber. They're chill, they're well aware, they're well informed, they're very positive, and they're just not getting, their apple cart and their wheelbarrow bumped over all the time because they're steady, they're steady. And that's just what I want for everybody in the sound of my voice. And, you know, I don't want any pushback from the meanies out there, but hey, they're going to do it. Just bring it on, man. Just bring it. You know, I've got Jesus by my side. I've got a whole army of angels at my side and at my command, and they're about 38 feet tall archangels. You think I'm worried about you and your little gossipy little heifer mouth out there? Hey, bring it, homie. I have gotten such thick skin in this game. I'm not even going to hold a grudge. Just going to move on. Love you, forgive you. You're just like a fly, just a little gnat, and I'm going to take my little flip flop and just squash it. Just get it away from me. It's not even in my radar. One thing I've gotten in this whole truther and being a leader on Telegram is my bounce back ability. I've got my BBA, my doctorate, and my bounce back ability. So just want to leave you with that. Be strong. You are warriors. You are not wieners. You are a winner. You are not a victim. And that's exactly my focus. I am absolutely not a victim. I am a winner and a warrior, and God is on my side. So I hope something that I said resonates with you and balances you a little bit and settles this negativity that is running rampant. Whew. Really important to me to get that across. Remember Chronicles 4, 5, and 6. If you want more of the truth about the med beds, what Celestial Alliance relayed to us. I hope that helps. This is Ginger signing out, and it is May the 12th, 2025. I love you guys very, very much. Hello, passengers flying Freedom Flight GLL117 with Destination Oasis. This is your co pilot, Captain Ginger, speaking, and I'm seated next to Captain Jesus, your chief pilot. It is May the 12th, 2025. Some exciting announcements. First off, I often speak to you about where my beautiful bedazzled bionic binoculars are trained to our friends across the pond. I often refer to our gentleman friend who speaks to folks in Zurich on a daily basis, as well as staying in close contact with the bankers and leaders in his homeland across the pond from where I live, and he is a part of tier 3, and he's just one of those where I know when he receives full liquidity, we know that massive liquidity is happening that will prep tier 4A as well as tier 4B. We are absolutely excited about the movement that we're seeing in tier 3. Things are absolutely positive and unstoppable. The beautiful news from this gentleman is, as of this morning, before noon my time, about, the time where after we had taken off flying, you can imagine how busy I was, having just, pulled off the tarmac there, and we took off after 11 this morning. So I was a little distracted and couldn't bring this to you until now. But we did receive information before noon my time that he's received positive results on the bond side that's affecting him. Um, and he says if this information given to us is accurate, we should have positive results this evening. That would be May 12th, 2025. He had much expectation, and he's talking about liquidity, to be clear. And then he went on to say we should also have evidence of this tomorrow, um, his time, on Tuesday morning. Physically, seeing evidence of it is what his hopeful expectation is, clearly what he has been told and led to believe. So again, please understand I'm not calling the Happy Camper event for today and tomorrow personally, so please no one misunderstand me or misconstrue what I'm saying or put words into my mouth that I did not say. I am quoting to you what this gentleman was told and his expectation as a tier 3 participant, of which we know there are millions involved, and we do know that we in Tier 4B are just on the heels of that. So things are undoubtedly just very, very positive, and I knew how happy that would make you. I also released an important announcement, which I'll read to you now. I am so excited to share this with you. You all know that we've had some pretty intense and interesting conversations with special friends, sounds like horses, over the years, right? Well, let me tell you this. Today's Gentel briefing blew my mind. It was fascinating. It was fabularific. The details were straight from the warrior himself. I took 10 pages of copious handwritten notes. Now my goal is to pray over my notes, carefully unpacking details, asking Papa God to bring to my memory, to my remembrance, details that were discussed that I perhaps didn't have time to scribble down quick enough. God will do that for me. He's wonderful to help me with that while the details are still fresh in my mind. and I will want to unpack the details that are safe to share, and of course, concealing any details which are not expedient to bring to the forefront. And my goal is ultimately to bring this gentleman's story to a crystal clear delivery for you, our patriots. The Chronicles of an Ambassador, Part 41, is going to be phenomenal. You all know that I've been super excited to bring details forward in the past. Well, this information is going to take the cake. I am sizzling with anticipation and I can hardly wait. I would like to tip you off to an important detail. You're going to have a blast looking out of the plane cabin windows with your beautiful bedazzled bionic binoculars to observe that these Gentel compliant details will pop off in the mainstream media as the days go on. You will undoubtedly literally see what I'm going to share in real life. The proof will be made public. It's going to be that obvious. And that also is definitely characteristic of all of our Gentel that we have shared. You just got the news early, didn't you, family? You got it early, and then you see mainstream talking about it hours later, days later, or even weeks later, and you already had the skinny on it. The time for our next Chronicles of an Ambassador is yet to be determined, as I do have a considerable amount of work to do in preparation, but it is safe to say you will not want to miss it. Also, please note there will be an age restriction for this intel. The age appropriate for listeners will be 16 years of age or older. Please make arrangements. I will let you know that special time of delivery as soon as I've got a better feeler for that. But this is Ginger, your co pilot captain speaking, and it is May 12th, 2025, and I am signing out. Take care, everybody.